اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. خل المقادير تمضي لا تغالبها، فإن من غالب الأقدار مغلوب. إن القضاء لسيف لا يقاومه من الخلق إلا وهو محبوب. وامشي رويدا مع الأقدار في مهل، فإن من يكره الأقدار متعوب. سلم وفوض لحكم الله محتسبا، فإنما الأمر مقضي ومكتوب. والله يقضي بما شاء وكيف يشاء، والعبد عبد ومخلوق ومربوب. ولم يزل ربه الرحمن يكلأه، باللطف والحفظ محفوف ومصحوب. حسن ظنونك بالرب الكريم، ولا تسيء ظنا فتبقى عنه محجوب. واعمل لنفسك أعمالا تسر بها، فكل ما يفعل الإنسان محسوب. إن كان خيرا فخير سوف يحصده، أو كان شرا فتنكيل وتعذيب. يا ويل من ضيع الأعمار في زلل، وكل من كسبه الآثام والحوب. واطلب علوما مع إقبال مع عمل، فأنت بالعلم والأعمال مطلوب. واحذر زمانك هذا إنه زمن به المناكير شاء.
Testing, high test. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin, Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue with our lesson in Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah. And we pray that Allah bless us with the understanding and tawfiq and hidayah to practice any what we have learned, and may Allah make it a reason where our sins are forgiven and our prayers are answered, inshallah ta'ala. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. So last week we have completed the book Adab Suluk al-Murid. So today we will straight away enter into Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah, and we are at the part where the author is speaking about the conditions on the validity of the Jama'ah prayers. And last week we mentioned about something with regards to if the Imam is below and the makmum is on top. That here the author of Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah mentioned that the condition of the validity is that part of the body of the makmum must hit the body of the Imam, in the sense that the makmum cannot be above the Imam in a situation where the feet cannot meet the head of the Imam. So I hope this is clear, inshallah. What is important now is that we understand where what the author is speaking about. The author is saying that part of the validity of a jama'ah is that the body of the ma'mum must touch here, meaning not touch physically, meaning if it were to be moved, it can touch any part of the body of the Imam. This is in the situation if either the Imam is below and the makmum is on top, or the makmum is below and the Imam is on top. So here the author mentioned that this is the condition, that part of the body must touch the part of the Imam. But as what we mentioned, this is not the mu'tamad in the madhab. This is not the opinion that is preferred by the Shafi'i and his scholars, and it is mentioned in the commentary of Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah by Sheikh Sa'id Ba'ishan. Also is mentioned by Sheikh Ibn Hajar and others. But here we say this is the opinion of the author, the opinion of the author, and some of the scholars of the Shafi'i madhab, they chose this opinion. They chose this opinion. So here we mentioned that it is not appropriate for us when we pray in Jama'ah that we forego this condition, meaning we try our best to go out of all differences of the scholars. But just in any case that if the makmum is on top and the imam is below, as the case of mosques that of 2-story high, for example, there is no any possibility that the part of the body of the makmum will reach any part of the body of the imam. But we try our best. If you are able to pray at one floor, we pray at one floor. Unless if we are in a congregation, there are so many people, for example, that we will need the second floor, then we only use the second floor. But at the same time also we understood that to pray at the first floor is better than the second. Because why? There are differences, not only in our madhab and in other madhab. In other madhab also they mention such a condition. So maybe we will get this again. Bismillah. Wa idha waqafa
وإذا وقف أحدهما في صفر والآخر في عل اشترط محاذاة أحدهما الآخر في غير المسجد والأكام. ولو كان الإمام في المسجد والمأموم خارجه ف300 محسوبة من آخر المسجد. نعم، إن صلى في علو داره بصلاة الإمام في المسجد. قال الشافعي لم تصح.
So the author mentioned وَإِذَا وَقَفَ أَحَدُهُمَا فِي السُّفْلٍ وَالْآخَرُ فِي عُلُوٍ. This is what I mentioned earlier. The example that is given by the author is that the either the imam or the makmum, one below, the other one is above. اشترط محاذاة أحدهما الآخر في غير المسجد. I mean, this is pertaining to al-jama'ah other than the masjid. This is pertaining to jama'ah other than masjid. So if other than the masjid, the author mentioned this is the condition, that the part of the body of the makmum must touch or reach any part of the body of the imam. That is why he mentioned fi ghayril masjidi wal akami, in other than mosques and hills. Walau kana al imamu fil masjid. So now again the author mentioned if the imam is in the masjid. So last week I mentioned there is a difference between distinguishing between what is a masjid and what is not a masjid. So masjid that is meant here is masjid that is entitled to waqf, endowment for prayers. So when we speak about masjid, this is what we meant. So again the author is saying walau kana al-imamu fil masjidi, the imam is, if the imam is in the masjid, wal ma'mum kharijahu, and the ma'mum is outside the masjid. So now this is the situation. Imam is praying inside the masjid, ma'mum outside the masjid. So normally like Eid prayers, for example, in our country a lot of the congregants are outside in the masjid or outside the area of i'tikaf. So this is the situation. Fasalasatu mi'atin mahsubatun min akhiril masjid. The author mentioned that salasatu mi'ah, this what you call it, 300 arm's length. We mentioned that this is the condition on the validity of the jama'ah, that in between the saf there must be a minimum of 300 meters arms. It's about 150 meters. In meters it's about 150. So it will only be counted at the end of the masjid, because as long as the ma'mum is inside the masjid, this condition is not applicable. As long as the ma'mum is inside the masjid. I gave an example, a person prays in Masjid Nabawi. If the imam is at the mimbar and the ma'mum is at the last saf of the masjid, imagine 150 meters and more, and there is no ma'mum in between, the prayer of the ma'mum is valid even though it is more than 150 meters. This is in a situation where the ma'mum is inside the masjid. But here the author mentioned if the ma'mum is outside the masjid and the ma'mum is far away from the imam. So where do we count the 150 meters? Do we count from the imam or do we count from the end of the masjid? So he said we count from the end of the masjid, because as long as the ma'mum is inside the area of the masjid, this condition is not taken into consideration. So this one he mentioned min akhir masjid. Naam in salla fi uluwi darihi bi salatil imami fil masjid. Now this is another situation. Makmum prays at the highest floor of his house. For example, the makmum prays on the second story in his house, or the rooftop of his house, and the imam is in the masjid. The imam is in the masjid. Qala Shafi'i lam tasih. Why it is not any valid? Imam Asy-Syafie mentioned this kind of prayer is not valid. Because why? The makmum cannot reach the imam, and the makmum is praying outside of the masjid, not inside the masjid. But if the makmum is inside the masjid, the prayer of the makmum is valid as long as the makmum knows the movements of the imam. But this is a situation where the makmum is on top of his house, and the makmum cannot reach the imam. The makmum cannot reach the imam. Thus the prayer of the makmum is not, the prayer of the makmum is not any valid. Now continue. Now because as what I mentioned, there is khilaf between the ulama with regards to if the makmum is above the imam. There are some of our scholars that mentioned it is not valid. It is not valid. So if there is no need for, even if the makmum or imam to be on a platform and the makmum is below, it is makruh. If there is no reason. For example, a person built a stage, and the imam prays on top of the stage, and the makmum prays below the stage without any reason. Without any reason. Meaning the makmum can pray on top of the stage with the imam, but they do it inside. This is makruh. This is makruh, unless if there is no space. Unless if there is no space. Now the fourth condition is niyatul qudwa, intention. That the validity of the jama'ah is when the makmum make the intention of jama'ah. If a person prays jama'ah without intention to follow an imam, then the prayer is valid. Or the makmum has doubt whether did I intend jama'ah or I do not intend jama'ah, the prayer is not valid. So when we make the intention for prayers, we must include makmuman. Usually we use this word makmuman. Usalli farda dhuhri makmuman. So this word makmuman entails that we made the intention of jama'ah, and this is wajib. And if a person prays behind the imam, it is wajib upon him to make the intention of jama'ah or makmuman, otherwise the prayer will not be valid. But as far as the imam, no problem. And imam sunnah for him to intend imaman, except for Jumu'ah prayers. Jumu'ah prayers is wajib, because Jumu'ah prayers the validity is on jama'ah. But normal prayers, it is not any compulsory upon the imam. If the imam does not make intention imaman, he will not get fadilatul jama'ah. That's the only thing. But the ma'mum wajib to make the intention of ma'muman. In tala intizaruhu. When does the prayer of the ma'mum becomes invalidated? In tala. Meaning, if a person enters the prayer Allahu Akbar, he didn't make the intention of jama'ah until the imam complete the recitation of Fatiha. Khalas, the prayer is invalid. The prayer is invalid. Some ulama mention the length of Surah Al-Fatiha. The length of Surah Al-Fatiha. If he waits more than the length of the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha, the prayer becomes invalidated. But if the ma'mum forgets for a while, he says Allahu Akbar, then he realizes that he has not made the intention of jama'ah, so he can make the intention of jama'ah quickly. If it is a slight delay, no issue. The prayer is still valid. Aywa. Now the fifth condition is that the type of prayer must be the same. Type of prayer meaning in terms of ruku and sujud. So the author gave an example. If the type of prayer is not the same, ka maktubatin wa kusuf. Imam is praying the maktuba. Maktuba here goes back to the 5 time daily prayers. For example, the imam is praying Zuhur prayers, Ma'mum prayers. Makmum and is praying kusuf and he prays. Imam and is praying kusuf prayers, makmum is praying zuhur prayers. So what happens? Yani the imam after the first ruku goes back into i'tidal, goes back into qiyam and recite Fatiha for the second time. So it is not any permissible. Because why? The type in your prayer is not valid. Because kusuf, the eclipse in prayer, there are 2 ruku, correct or not? There are 2 ruku and 2 qiyam. Whereas normal prayers, there's only 1 ruku and 1 qiyam. So here we say the type in your prayer is not the same. The type in your prayer is not any the same. And likewise janazah, the imam when he is praying any janazah, the ma'mum when he is praying the maktubah, it is not any valid. Because janazah prayer there is no ruku and sujud. So it is not the same as the normal prayer. So this kind of congregation is not valid. So when we want to pray jama'ah, we have to look at the type in your prayer. If the imam is praying janazah, we pray janazah, no problem. The imam is praying kusuf, we are praying kusuf, no problem. But if the imam is praying kusuf, we cannot make the intention of maktubah. Aywa. Then he mentioned وَيَصِيحُ ظُهُرْ خَلْفَ الْعَصْرِ. Now this is permissible, that the imam when he is praying zuhur, ma'mum praying asr. So we say the type in your prayer is the same. The type in your prayer is the same any meaning in terms of its integrals, but the name of the prayer is not any the same. Yani imam when he is praying zuhur prayers, now zuhur prayers and asr prayers is different in terms of what? In terms of the timing. In terms of the timing. The imam when he is praying zuhur, ma'mum when he is praying asr, qada'an, for example, the prayer is valid. The prayer is valid. Why any valid? Because the type is the same. If the type is the same, the prayer is valid. The imam is praying ada'an, ma'mum praying qada'an, no issue. The prayer is valid. So some people ask about tarawih prayers. Can the ma'mum pray qada' subuh? If a person has not been praying, for example, for 2 years, and then he wants to make qada', and when it comes the month of Ramadan, he goes into the masjid, the imam prays 20 rak'ah of tarawih. The imam make the intention of tarawih. Can he make the intention of qada' fajr? Yes, he can make the intention of qada' al-fajr.
فلو ترك الإمام سجدة التلاوة وسجدها المأموم أو أخته أو ترك الإمام تشهد الأول وتشهده مأموم بطل.
Now the sixth condition, the author mentioned if the ma'mum go against the movements of the imam. The ma'mum go against the movements of the imam. So what is important here that we have to understand is that when we are praying in jama'ah, we have to follow the imam. But if we do not follow the imam, our prayers will become invalidated if we make any mistakes of not following in a way that it is serious. In a way that is serious. So the author gave some examples. He said fahishat al-mukhalafa. This mukhalafa, this kind of mukhalafa is fahisha. Fahisha here meaning it is a serious we call it against the movements of the imam. So he gave the example, فَلَوْ تَرَكَ الْإِمَامُ سَجَّةَ تِلَاوَةً. Imam does not make sujood tilawah. For example, you are praying the Fajr prayers on Friday. The Imam recites إِنَّمَا يُؤْمِنُ بِآيَاتِنَا الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهَا خَرُّوا سُجَّدًا وَسَبَّحُوا بِحَمْدِ the ayat the Surah Sajdah وَهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. But the Imam does not make sujood, and then the ma'mum makes the sujood. The prayer of the ma'mum becomes invalidated. Because why? Because the ma'mum is not following the imam, and sujood is a major integral. Sujood is a major integral. So this is an example. Imam does not do sujood tilawah, the ma'mum does sujood tilawah, or the imam does sujood tilawah and the ma'mum does not do sujood tilawah. Aksuhu, this is what he said, aksuhu, meaning the opposite. The imam does sujood tilawah. Is it wajib for the ma'mum to do sujood tilawah? Yes, it's wajib, it is not sunnah. Although sujood tilawah itself is a sunnah. But if the imam does sujood tilawah, now wajib for the ma'mum. Because why? What wajib for the ma'mum? Mutaba'atul imam. Even though sujood tilawah is not wajib, but following the imam is wajib. So the prayer of the ma'mum and he will become invalidated, and if he does not do what the imam does. Then he mentioned أو ترك الإمام تشهد الأول وتشهده المأموم. Imam does not do tashahud awal, but the ma'mum does tashahud awal. This is some common mistakes. Sometimes we pray jama'ah, imam forgot tashahud awal. Imam goes to the third rak'ah. The ma'mum continues to do tashahud awal. Now this is a mistake. The ma'mum should not do tashahud awal. The ma'mum should go up and follow the imam, and then do sujud sahwi. After the salam of the imam, if the imam does not do sujud sahwi. But to do any tashahud awal is not correct. The prayer becomes invalidated if the ma'mum does so. Now continue. Then he mentioned وَإِن تَشَهَدَ الْإِمَامُ وَقَامَ الْمَأْمُومُ عَمْدًا. So now we have a situation the imam does the tashahud, but the ma'mum does not want to do the tashahud. Now this is opposite. The ma'mum he goes up. Then he mentioned the prayer of the ma'mum is not invalidated in this situation. The prayer of the ma'mum is not invalidated. Wa yundabu lahul aun, but it is a sunnah for him to go back to tashahud. It is what you call it, recommended for him to do the tashahud. So in this situation, if the ma'mum stands up for example, and he waits for the imam in qiyam, and the imam what you call it is doing the tashahud awwal. This is an exception, and the author mentioned that the prayer of the ma'mum is not invalidated. One thing about this is that the tashahud awwal is a sunnah. So tashahud awwal is a sunnah, and the ma'mum goes up to qiyam, and qiyam is fard. The ma'mum waits for the imam, and this is permissible why? Because tashahud awwal is considered to be a sunnah. Now then the imam goes up to qiyam, and he follows the imam. Aywa. Now the seventh condition is al-mutaba'ah, and it is wajib for the ma'mum to do mutaba'ah. Mutaba'ah here I need to follow. Mutaba'ah meaning I need to follow the imam, meaning after the imam does an integral, then only the ma'mum does the integral. So he mentioned فَإِنْ قَارَنَهُ فِي التَّحَرُّمِ بَطَلَتْ. If there is no mutaba'ah in takbiratul ihram, taharrum here means takbiratul ihram. If there is no muqarana, the imam say Allahu Akbar, the ma'mum also say Allahu Akbar at the same time, the prayer of the ma'mum is not valid, because muqarana in takbir will make our prayers invalid. Batalat wakada in taqaddama alayhi ruknaini fi'liyain. If the ma'mum does the rukun fi'li, two rukun fi'li in front of the imam, in advance of the imam, the prayer becomes invalid. For example, the imam is doing qiyam, and the ma'mum does a ruku'. Imam is still qiyam, and then he goes up to do i'tidal. He goes up to do i'tidal. So now there is two rukun. There is two rukun. This is an example that the ma'mum is in front of the imam into rukun. The prayer of the ma'mum becomes invalid. But if one rukun, the prayer is still valid. If one rukun the prayer is still considered to be valid. So two rukun, then only the prayer becomes invalid. Aw ta'akhara anhu, or if the imam does any ruku, then the imam does any i'tidal, the ma'mum is still qiyam. When the imam does any sujood, the prayer becomes the prayer and it becomes any invalid. طيب.
وإن قارنه في غير التحرم أو تقدم عليه بركن فعلي أو تأخر عنه به لم يضر.
Naam, so now the author mentioned وإن قارنه في غير التحرم. So in prayer, muqarana that makes prayers invalid is only in takbiratul ihram. Muqarana. Clear inshallah what's the meaning of muqarana? Muqarana meaning at the same time. If the imam, for example, does the ruku and the makmum does the ruku at the same time, this is called muqarana. Can you imagine? Imam and he goes down to ruku, the makmum also goes down to ruku. This is called muqarana. This does not make prayer invalid, but it is makruh. It is makruh. A person does not get fadilatul jama'ah. A person and he does not get fadilatul jama'ah if he does muqarana. But only in takbiratul ihram the prayer is not valid. Other than takbiratul ihram the prayer is valid, but without fadilatul jama'ah. That the person and he will not get fadilatul jama'ah if he does any muqarana. Muqarana in ruku', muqarana in i'tidal, muqarana in sujud, the person and he will not get fadilatul jama'ah. So that's the thing. So here the author and he mentioned fi ghairi taharumi, the prayer is still valid. Aw taqaddama alayhi bi rukun fi'li, one rukun fi'li, the prayer is still valid. But of course this is makruh. One rukun fi'li aw ta'akhara anhu, or late in one rukun fi'li, the prayer is still valid. Naam. So the thing that we make prayers invalid is ruknaini fi'liyaini. It is two rukun fi'li. So we must make a differentiation between rukun fi'li and rukun qawli. So here the author is speaking about rukun fi'li. Rukun fi'li is actions and integrals that involves action. Aywa. Now it is haram upon him to go with one rukun fi'li intentionally. If he is intention haram. But if a person is not intention, now it is makruh. But with intention meaning he knows that this is not permissible, he does it. Now this is considered to be a prohibition. Aywa.
فإذا تخلف بعذر كبطء قراءة بلا وسوسة واشتغال الموافق بدعاء الافتتاح
أو ركع
إمامه فشك في الفاتحة أو تذكر تركها أو أسرع الإمام قراءته عذر إلى ثلاثة أركان طويلة.
Okay, this one we need to pay attention a bit. These are so many exceptions. But before we go into this, let us just revise what we have mentioned. What is compulsory for the ma'mum is to follow the imam, mutaba'atul imam. It is not permissible for the ma'mum to do muqarana, and it is not permissible for the ma'mum to go ahead in advance of the imam or to be late then the imam with two rukun fi'li, the prayer becomes invalid. One rukun fi'li is haram, but the prayer is still valid. So now the author mentioned, but there are certain situations that are forgiven, that if a person does not follow the imam. Now, for example, he said but'i qira'ah, yani a situation where the ma'mum reads very slowly and the imam reads too fast. So the imam does the ruku, Allahu Akbar, the ma'mum says iyyaka na'budu, this bati'ul qira'ah, yani a person reads too slow. There are some people they read very slowly, and the problem is the imam read very fast. So it becomes a problem. So do we tell him that in whatever situation you have to do mutaba'ah? So he said, I cannot. By the time I only wanted of the Fatiha, the Imam does ruku, Allahu Akbar, but I have to complete my Fatiha. So in this situation, what do we tell this kind of person? Do we tell him to leave Fatiha and ruku with the Imam? No. He has to complete the recitation of the Fatiha. And he is given 3 long rukun. This is what he mentioned. Salasati arkan tawila. So rukun fi'li, there are 2 types. One is tawila, the other one is qasira. So for example, ruku is tawil. It is a long integral. What is the meaning of long integral? Meaning if you are praying and you do ruku for a long period of time, it does not invalidate your prayer. We say this is rukun tawil. An example of rukun qasir, short any rukun, and is i'tidal. If a person does any i'tidal intentionally, he does any i'tidal in half an hour. He goes up and in front of prayer, Sami Allahu liman hamida, and then he stand there for 50 minutes. What do we say into his prayer? The prayer becomes invalid. Why? Because i'tidal is a short any rukun. We cannot any do i'tidal more than the recitation of Suratul Fatiha. That is any day the limitation, because this is a short rukun. Another short rukun is al-jalsa baina sajdatain, sitting down in between two sujud. We cannot prolong this kind of sitting down more than tashahud akhir. So it must be short. It must be short. Otherwise, any prayers and it becomes any invalid. So what is the thing? And when the author say the three long rukun, what is any the three long rukun? Any that he meant? What he meant any is number one, it is ruku. Number two is the first sujud. Number three is the second sujud. So ruku, first sujud, second sujud. So we do not take into consideration i'tidal and sitting in between two sujud. So now if the imam does ruku, the makmum is reciting Fatiha. The imam is doing i'tidal, Sami Allahu liman hamida, the makmum is reciting Fatiha. The imam does the first sujud, the makmum is reciting Fatiha. Tamam, this is batil qira'ah. The imam sit down in between two sujud, the makmum is reciting Fatiha. The imam is doing the second sujud, the makmum is reciting Fatiha. As long as the imam has not gone to qiyam the next rak'ah, the makmum can catch up with the imam. So for example, by this first sujud, the makmum masha'Allah completes the Fatiha, Ameen. Then what should the makmum do? The makmum should do the ruku, i'tidal, first sujud, and then catch up with the imam. Clear inshallah? So this is what he meant by he is given three long rukun. All of you understand inshallah? He is given three long rukun. But if the makmum is too slow, even three long rukun, mashallah, the imam is at the second sujud, the makmum is reciting Fatiha. The imam does qiyam, want to go up for qiyam to the second rak'ah. He says, khalas, if the imam stands up, I still cannot finish my Fatiha. In this situation, and we tell him, leave your Fatiha and quickly ruku. Leave your Fatiha quickly and do your ruku. Otherwise, your prayer becomes invalid. So he continue his prayer with the ruku, i'tidal, and catch up with the imam. Then he has to pay back one rak'ah. He has to pay back one rak'ah, because this is more than three long rukun. So he gave this example. What he say? He say, li'udhrin ka but'i qira'atin, because there is udhr. This is a concession. What is the example? But'i qira'ah, yani a person recite too slow, bila waswasa. But he puts a condition. The condition is that it is not based on waswas. Because some people, for example, they can recite the Quran fast, but they have waswas. I have to repeat again my Fatiha. I have to repeat again in my Fatiha. Now for this person, it is not a concession, because this is his fault. He should fight the waswas and not to follow this kind of waswas. So he must be confident that my recitation is okay outside prayers. Tawakkal ala Allah. When I recite in prayers, just recite Fatiha. Do not pay attention to the waswas. He should fight. He should not follow this waswas. The waswas tells him that no, your Fatiha is not complete. You have to recite again. So shaitan is playing with him. So this is his fault. Concession is not given to him. So he mentioned bila waswasatin. Then he mentioned washtiralil muwafiq bi du'a'il iftitah. You see, some people, for example, he enters into the prayer and he recite dua iftitah. This muwafiq, not masbuq. Muwafiq and he recite dua iftitah. He thought that the imam also recite dua iftitah, but some imam, they do not recite iftitah, and they read very fast. So this makmum miskin recite iftitah. When he want to recite Fatiha, the imam does ruku. So now he cannot do ruku with the imam. Why? He has not recited his Fatiha, and he's not a masbuq. If he is a masbuq, now at least he can get the ruku with the imam. But now this muwafiq, and he has recited any iftitah, and he has not any recited any Fatiha. So the prayer the rak'ah is not valid until he recite a Fatiha. Imam ini does any the ruku, so he is given 3 long rukun. He is given 3 long rukun and need to complete his Fatiha. Aw raka'a imamuhu fashakka fil Fatiha. Imam ini does any ruku and he has doubt in his Fatiha. Again, it is not any based on waswas. He has doubt that did I recite in my Fatiha or have not I recited any my Fatiha. So al-asl, he has not recited Fatiha. What do we take? We take that we have not done, because al-aslu al-adam. It is qaida. The origin is we have not any recited, correct or not? If you are in doubt and whether you have recited or not recited, what is the origin? Origin is you have not recited. Origin is you have not recited. This is a qaida. Al-aslu huwa al-adam. So in this situation, he is giving 3 long ruku. He cannot do ruku. If a person is in doubt, did I recite Fatiha, not recite Fatiha? Imam, Allahu Akbar. Now in this situation is that you cannot do the ruku with the Imam. You cannot do the ruku with the Imam. So what must you do? You need to recite the Suratul Fatiha. And you are given 3 long rukun. Now continue. فَإِنْ زَادَ فَإِنْ زَادَ نَوَى الْمُفَارَقَةِ. Yani if a person, for example, he cannot abide any by the 3 long rukun. He cannot abide any by the 3 long rukun for some reason. So he has 2 options. Number 1, and he make the intention of mufaraqah. So for example, Bati'ul Qira'ah, he recite any 2, so Imam too fast. The Imam is in the 2nd sujood, he is still reciting Fatiha. And he knows that if Imam when he goes up, his prayer will not become valid. So what does he do? He can make the intention of mufaraqah. Mufaraqah needs to be detached from the jama'ah. Then he prays alone. He prays alone. So this is one option. The other option, the author mentioned awafaqahu. He follows any the Imam. He leaves any his Fatiha, and he follows any the Imam all the way. But ata bi raka'atin ba'da salamihi. Yani he has to pay back any the raka'ah because he has not completed any reciting the Fatiha. Hada fil muwafiq. Yani the author says that this is with regards to the muwafiq, not masbuq. Why? Because masbuq and he has a different ruling. Yani imagine any Bati'ul Qira'ah enters into the prayer and he is a masbuq. Imagine. And then while he is reciting the basmalah, the Imam does the ruku. So what do we tell this Bati'ul Qira'ah? We say any good news for you. No need any for you to complete any of Fatiha. Just do your ruku with the Imam because you are masbuq, not muwafiq. But the problem is the Bati'ul Qira'ah muwafiq. All of you understood, inshallah? All of you understood the difference between muwafiq and masbuq? You see, because masbuq, the Imam recite the Fatiha for him. Tamam? So the author emphasizes here, Hada fil muwafiq. He said, Hada fil muwafiq. And then he explained, who is any muwafiq? The definition is, وَهُوَ مَنْ أَدْرَكَ مَعَ الْإِمَامِ قَدْرَ الْفَاتِحَةِ. Yani if you enter into prayer, and this is important, if you enter into prayer and you are given the time to recite the Fatiha, meaning if you recite your Fatiha with the Imam, you can recite the full Fatiha, then you are muwafiq. Then you are muwafiq. Some people thought muwafiq, you must be praying with the Imam at the beginning of the prayer, meaning when the Imam say Allahu Akbar, we say Allahu Akbar, then you are muwafiq. No, not necessary. So this definition is important. As long as we have the time to recite Fatiha, we are muwafiq. We are not masbuq. Tamam? So that is why if we recite dua iftitah and we are late for prayer, and the Imam does ruku, we have to recite Suratul Fatiha at the span of dua iftitah. Because why? We are muwafiq. Clear, inshallah? So masbuq is the opposite. And if a person does not have the time to recite Suratul Fatiha, Wallahu alam bis-sawab. Because of time, we will stop here. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adhaban nar. sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.